Welcome back, everyone. We are here, another episode of Welcome to the Music Lounge. Hopefully your favorite podcast to watch or listen. Perry, how you doing?
I'm doing great today, Andrew. Actually coming to you from Tennessee today.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I was in London last week, so good to be back on US soil.
And I'm sure we'll get a review of the Oasis concert at some point.
Yeah, I think Oasis has been mentioned in 52 episodes.
Before we jump into everything, I just want to remind people to please like, rate, review, and share the podcast so that we can get more people listening and watching, because the more people that we get doing that, the longer we can continue doing the podcast.
It'd be nice.
It would be nice. But today we have a very special guest, somebody that we worked with for a long time at MTV. I believe it's our first guest from the MTV communications team. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So today we have Graham James, formerly Vice President of Communications at MTV, was at Spotify for a while, and is now consulting for startups in their communications. Welcome, Graham.
Boys, thanks for having me. Listen, I know that you've been hounding me to be on the show for a long time, so thanks for your patience. And I appreciate that we are actually, able to do this today. So
it takes time to schedule, so we appreciate it.
And I know you've been
someone as busy as you, bro.
Exactly, and I know you've had to have some filler guests like Tom Calderone.
A few little fillers, yeah.
But listen, happy to be here with you.
Well, thank you for joining us.
We actually go back from when I first joined MTV in communications.
You were on the press team.
Yeah, I was in LA.
Yeah.
New York, and you I was very
Vanessa
excited.
And Ariana.
Exactly. So when I moved to New York, I was excited that I knew someone that I had a working relationship with outside of the people.
Completely slammed with strangers.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a long time.
We were at MTV in the late 90s, early 2000s, which was a period of creative growth, audience growth. MTV was a cultural touchstone for a lot of people. We've even talked about it as being the original influencer for what was happening in pop culture. The communications and marketing team were a big part of that. What was your road to MTV and the communications team, and was that what you always wanted to do?
I don't know. I think so. I grew up in Iowa. And I did not have any connection to the entertainment industry, to like the record industry, labels, TV, whatever. I liked music. I liked MTV. And I wanted to kind of do something outside of Iowa. So I was in DC for a while. I moved to New York. I worked at Fast Company magazine as their head of PR. And I didn't know anybody at MTV, but I answered a classified ad in Silicon Alley Reporter, which was a trade magazine, and it said that MTVI was looking for a communications manager, and MTVI was the digital spinoff of MTV.
Yes,
This was back in the late '90s when they were gonna spin off MTVI.
Yep,
they were gonna take it public, and they were gonna realize the value of the MTV brand. So I was brought on to build MTVI into a thing, and then ultimately take it public. So yeah, I had no idea what I was doing. I was literally never been in the entertainment industry. I just talked my way into this gig, ended up spending 10 years at MTV.
But you weren't always doing online, right?
No, started out online.
Yeah.
And then we were down at 770 Broadway, had these amazing offices. That was where the leadership was Fred Seibert, Nicholas Butterworth, Fred Graver was down there.
Jason Hirschhorn.
Yeah, Hirschhorn was down there as well. So we were down there, we were building this company, and we were going to have an IPO. And then the .com bust, happened. And so they basically pulled everything back into the mothership, and I came along with it. So I was at MTVI for maybe a year and a half, 2 years, probably a year and a half. And then I moved back up to 1515, and they found me a role working for the press team there. And then I got to move into actual fun stuff, where it was the VMAs and TRL and doing, actual publicity and doing consumer press, which was a ball.
So I was in PR as well for a little bit, and it's each publicist has your own roster of relationships and magazines and people you speak to. Were you more of the music guy, or what was your lane?
It changed year to year.
Okay.
Sometimes I would be the music guy, and I would be dealing with Billboard and people like that, and Rolling Stone, and Spin back when that was a thing. Hits Daily Double was a big one.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're still
around. Still is, yeah.
They're around. But the best thing about the press team is that they would just put you on different projects. They would be like, okay, you seem to want to do this. Go run the press for the VMAs,
right,
and the entire red carpet. And you're like, okay, I've done it a couple times, but then now you're in charge of it.
Right.
Bigger, yeah.
Which is unbelievably cool that they would do that, and they would just hand it over to you and say, okay, these are 50 photographers and 200 reporters from around the world, and all these celebrities and publicists and managers and hangers on, and you're in the middle of New York, and deal with it. And you're like,
the logistics are just, and it isn't just the red carpet, right? There's press tents and bringing celebrities by and dealing with publicists.
Having people backstage. It's taking people from the stage to the press tents after they win an award. It's the whole thing. And
I was a runner at that.
Throw you into it. Yeah. And at the very beginning, you'd just be a press escort. And so what you do is you kind of all line up there, and you'd be in this little pen, and somebody would show up. And it'd be like Britney Spears. You'd be at your radio, and they'd say Britney Spears is here. You'd walk Britney Spears and her entourage down the red carpet. And do you want to do Entertainment Tonight? Do you want to do Access Hollywood? Here's photographers. Here's AP. And then you would escort them inside. Then you'd go back around to the top of the red carpet, and you'd do it again. You started out doing that, and then you would get to the point where you'd be organizing like the photographers. And then it got to the point where you'd organize the whole thing. And it was just so much fun. I mean, so much stress, a lot of work, but wow. I mean, my family would watch the VMAs, and they would just watch me on the red carpet. And I'd be just there in a panicked look, escorting weird celebrities down the red carpet. It was weird. It was a ton of fun.
When I first started at MTV, I was typically with whoever from .com was doing interviews on the red carpet. So I was always trying to pull talent. And then I got to the point where I was usually a talent escort for somebody. Then it becomes, you're trying to, like you were just saying, get them down the carpet too, and trying to figure out who they're going to talk to. For a thing that only lasts for maybe 2 hours, it is completely and absolutely mayhem and stressful, but it goes by so fast too. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
And I always like the VMAs better than the movie awards. VMAs, it's a bunch of rock stars and hip hop artists, and it's fun, and they all kind of get the joke. When you go to do the movie awards in LA, it was Hollywood and movie stars. It was just a different vibe and a lot more intense. Mm-hmm. And it was just a harder gig, I felt.
Well, and they also had already a plan in place of who they were going to talk to. So you're walking them down the carpet, and they're like, okay, we're going to do 3 press hits. And
it was very calculated and a lot more egos.
Yeah. And so you're walking by people, and they're like, can we get so-and-so? Can we get so-and-so? And, they're just walking right by. And it's like, come on, you're walking the carpet. Just do what you're here to do.
Right.
And the publicists were all jerks too. It's like the ego of a Hollywood publicist is just.
You are the celebrity.
Oh, you're just the master, and you just control everything. And it's like, no, you're just a publicist.
Their favorite word is no. I mean, that's all they want to say is no to things. So yeah.
But we still managed to have fun, even though it's like it wasn't as exciting as the VMAs or as fun. But I think you'd go out to the movie awards, and it was the most insane talent of the day would be there, and would be like you'd be backstage with them. It was surreal.
You ever look back and have a moment? Because and we've talked about this before, when you're in it day to day, it's just a job. But when you look from the outside of what you're doing and who you're with, is just incredible.
We were taught, I think, really by Jeannie, our boss, Jeannie Kiedis, was like, you're here to do a job.
Yeah.
You're not here to make friends with celebrities.
Right.
You're not here to pal around with them. They don't want to hang out with you. You have a job to do. And our motto was, if you're in the shot, you're out of a job. So
Right.
basically, which meant you're not supposed to be on camera.
And no
Your
selfies,
job,
right?
you get the person from point A to point B,
Yeah.
you get them to the press, you do your job. It didn't matter for us who it was. We had a job to do. It's totally weird that you're there with somebody who's, uber famous and you're just like, I need to get you to this place. That was what's the most important thing to us, was just like, do the job, do it well, go home, have your parents see you on TV.
Yeah. I think we all had a bit of that because we were all in various scenarios of that same goal with these same celebrities. So you couldn't be starstruck or anything.
It's just like, again, this was a job. And we had, one time we had an intern, we were at 1515, and the intern snuck off with Snoop Dogg's entourage and left with Snoop Dogg and the team. And we got an email the next day, I can't come to work today because I'm in Philly with Snoop Dogg. And we're like, well, no, you can't come to work the rest of the summer because that's just not cool.
You're fired.
So we're like, your internship's over. I apologize. But that was the deal. We weren't there to hang out with them. We were there to work.
Communications used to be known as press or publicity, but I think you did so much more than writing press releases and things like that. I know when I was in programming, press was so involved in the strategic planning around series launches and tempo events and promotion around on-air talent. Can you speak about how you helped to really amplify series launches and campaigns?
Look, I would just say the one that really sticks out in my mind was the Osbournes.
Yeah.
And just because we lost Ozzy recently, and he was such a lovely man. It's so old school when you think about how we did this. Is that the team came up with the Osbournes, and this show was born. And we used to launch our shows at a thing called TCA in Pasadena, California. And TCA was the Television Critics Association. It's got to still exist. What would happen is they would go to Pasadena for like a month or something. And all the cable networks and all the broadcast networks would take their new shows to them, and they would screen them, and they'd have panels with all the stars. And so we took the Osbournes, the family, I think it might have just been Sharon and Ozzy, out to Pasadena to meet with the television critics. And it was like you didn't know what the show was going to be or the phenomenon that they were going to be then. But I remember, I had to get Ozzy out of the men's room to be on stage. It's like we're all going on stage and no one can find him. And we have to search him down. And I find him in a stall in the men's room.
Right.
And then pull him out, get him on stage. And he's there with Sharon. They show a clip. And Ozzy's mumbling and stumbling through the clip. And the first question from a critic, will this show come with subtitles? And Sharon just loses her mind. She's like, oh,
I think it actually did, though.
Oh, and everybody in the room started dying laughing. And we were like, okay, we know this is a hit here.
Yeah.
And then to ride that wave over a few years was just incredible, because at some point you just take your hands off the wheel and you're like, just going to go. I mean, they were on the cover of every magazine imaginable. Entertainment Weekly, Rolling Stone. They were everywhere, and they were such a cultural phenomenon. And to be a part of that, I was the main press contact at MTV for the show.
Right.
And so that was insanity. And it was just riding that wave and just getting real lucky to be on that show.
Were you setting up all those photo shoots and cover stories and all that? Did they have their own publicist?
Yeah. And so you would coordinate with them. You would basically come from the MTV perspective. They were building out their own empire, but we were, attached at the hip. So it was really a lot of that. We worked together, hopefully not wake up in the morning and then something like, oh, wow, they're on that, they're on the Today Show. It was a wild ride, but it took a lot of planning ahead of time, laying out where you're going to want them to be, and then what are you going to do next for the next season. The goal was ratings. It was like get more people to watch the show.
Yeah.
And from my perspective, their goals were different. We were not totally aligned. I think it worked really well together. And I just got to say, they were just lovely people. And just like Ozzy was just the most gracious person you ever want to meet. So that was.
But what goals do you think the Osbournes had for launching a show.
It made
It's already famous, right?
It made Ozzy kind of relevant to an entirely new audience,
Right.
and an entirely new fan base, and it introduced everyone to the Prince of Darkness that was just so much more, and just such a more interesting character. And I think it just grew his celebrity, and grew Sharon's celebrity, and opened up a lot more opportunities for them.
It humanized him also.
Sure.
It made him, like
he
you
wasn't
said,
a bat-biting.
Right. People saw him
rock
like
star.
he was literally like the ultimate sitcom dad. All this craziness is going on around him, and he's fumbling through life.
What an amazing life experience he's had. And then all of a sudden, he's just like this Beverly Hills dad. Right. He was just such an amazing guy.
Do you have a favorite Ozzy story to share, since, we just lost him?
I think it's just like the last time we were doing something, last time I ever saw him face to face, and I don't know if he knew me from, a hole in the wall, but he gave me a big hug and was just like, thank you for, everything you've done. And he might not have thought I was somebody entirely different, but it meant something to me. And it was really special. And it just showed what a kind of guy he was.
Yeah.
He really knew that this was super important, and he was really grateful for it.
A big part of communications is to shape the messaging around unforeseen events that happen, similar to what you guys did with like the Justin and Janet Super Bowl performance. Is there another story that's required that from your team?
The Justin Janet thing was above my pay grade. Thank God. Nothing really jumps out. What we would do is just kind of the day-to-day knife fighting of PR. MTV doesn't play music videos anymore. We'd fight that every single week. And you'd have to explain the strategy behind MTV was it's not your MTV anymore. It's your kids' MTV. It's like we're kind of like evolving and speaking to a different audience every few years, and we're going to change over time. So a lot of the critics, and they were music critics or television critics, would come at us regularly a couple times a year and say, you don't play music videos anymore, and all you're doing is reality TV. So we would fight that all the time. And we were more than happy to have that fight and just to explain to them why we, existed as a brand and why we were going to change and we're going to evolve.
Yeah.
So that was a regular occurrence.
Was there ever a music video or music performance that you guys had to address with the press because people complained about it or someone was upset about it, other than the Janet and Justin thing?
I love to be in the standards meeting. I will say across the board, I loved every single minute I was there. But like being at the standards meeting was so much fun because you would watch the videos with the team and they would kind of go back and they'd have notes and edits for the labels. Right? Yeah. And so what great strategy, and it worked every single time, was that a label or an artist would submit a video to MTV and knowing that it was going to get asked to change because it would have like nudity or guns or drugs in it. And then we would ask for changes, and then they would go to the press and say, this is too hot for MTV. They banned the video. Can you believe it? You need to see this video because they won't even touch it. They won't let you see it because it's too good. And so that was fascinating. That would happen like once or twice a year. And we just like, oh, God, again. Okay. And so we start getting calls. Why won't you play XYZ video? And it's because like, we just can't show nudity on MTV. It was just how the music business works. But it was fascinating because it was the same playbook every single time.
I think a lot of that, when you love telling people the narrative of MTV and how things are changing and why you're not playing music videos, it's bad press is good press, right? Like sure. There's always a positive around, and it just gives you more of an opportunity to get the story out there because someone wants to cover it. Someone's asking about it.
Yeah, and it's fun. It's sexy. It's interesting. We were all in New York. This buzz was just swirling around, and people could take advantage of it. And to be a PR person at MTV at that time in New York was a really special moment just for the media industry.
Yeah. Was there any backlash, for example, to the Britney Madonna kiss at the VMAs? I mean, did you guys have to put out any fires with that one?
I don't think there was any backlash
Yeah.
on us at all. It was an expectation of MTV that we, push the envelope a lot of the time. I mean, obviously, it got a ton of buzz. Anything Britney did back then, whether she's dancing with a snake or whatever,
Right.
Was big news. But I think it wasn't as much backlash. You would be with the photographers. We had a bunch of great photographer partners that we used, but Frank Michelada or Kevin Mazur were out there, Scott Grice, and they would be shooting all these things, and you would see their shots the next day, and you'd see the Britney, Madonna, Christina kiss. You'd see Britney with the snake or Beyonce on stage at these big events, and you'd see it right away. And it wasn't as much backlash as it was just
there when
overwhelming buzz. And it was that was the thing that was happening in the entertainment world.
Which is again why we always say that MTV at that time was the original influencer, because nobody else was producing content or moments like that became part of the cultural conversation.
Yeah.
So many people watched those shows, whether it was the Osbournes or the Newlyweds or Jackass or TRL. I mean, you remember back then, you were at 1515 and Eminem would come on TRL and they'd have to close the blinds because Times Square was completely jammed with kids.
Yeah. We would hear the roars from the 25th floor.
Yeah. And I don't know if there is anything like that. This was 3:30 in the afternoon on a Tuesday. But it was brilliant because all the kids would be done with school. And they'd be like, who's going to be at TRL? And they'd come there. It sounds so kind of quaint and old fashioned today, but it was really kind of a massive experience. And that was just, one random Tuesday at TRL.
I was just going to say that. It's like a random Tuesday at TRL, Eminem is there. And then the next day it's Destiny's Child. And the day after that, it's NSYNC. And then it's, whoever the hottest movie star at the time was, or the hottest TV actor at the time was. It's like you've got maybe Johnny Depp there or whoever. And it was just and it was just this moment in time where every Hollywood and the music industry and everything sort of congregated at 1515 for, that 5, 6, 7 year period. And it was pretty amazing, actually.
It really was. A lot of your other guests have said similar things. It's that we were incredibly lucky because we had a bunch of really great people and really smart people and people who worked their asses off to do this. And it was from every single department really loved what they were doing and were super passionate about it and would just get so excited about just like these little things. I remember Dave Sorelnik used to have a regular meeting, I think on the 28th floor, that big boardroom that he would run, and they'd show clips of shows that were coming up. They'd show new projects, and I remember one time they were showing new videos. And remember one time they premiered R. Kelly's "Trapped in the Closet" video, which if you haven't seen this video, you have to watch it. It is so over the top.
Well, there's also 28 segments to it now too, or something.
But the first time we saw it, I think you had this room full of people and you're just like, holy shit, what is this? I was like, I want to watch it again. It was just so good. But that was something that would happen during the day. That was our jobs. So
and we would eventize all of these moments, whether it was a music video that we could just blow up, give it a 10-spot premiere, do a press release, do a whole lead up. It was insane. Or the effort you would put into a tempo event, we would be as creative and want to just get the best out of it.
Oh yeah, and that was the thing, is that again, it was an expectation that you're going to be creative, the expectation that you're going to try to do things differently and try to do it, just be as creative as possible to get the biggest buzz out there. And that was super fun because I think, look, if for most kind of PR people, communications people, it is more like you're going to go just straight and narrow. You're going to keep it cool. Don't want to make any waves. At MTV, it was like you had to, and that was that was your charge, to go out there and do it differently and have fun.
And it wasn't just from Jeannie, it was like from Judy and Van and all of those folks.
All of our bosses, Paul de Benedettis, and his boss Brian, but
Tom and Amy and everybody.
All those guys, that was the expectation to do it differently and to be creative and to make a splash. And again, you're totally right. It was from Judy and Van on down. I remember one time Christina Norman, who's the best, did a CNBC interview wearing a eye patch. And she did it on a bet. I think they were out the night before, and they're like, I bet she had to do this CNBC hit. She wore an eye patch the entire time. And she didn't mention it at all until the end. And then she just, it was a mascara mix up. I mean, how awesome is that? This was the president of MTV doing this.
Wow.
So, the coolest.
We're going to throw a little quick fire, get to know Graham James segment.
Do it.
What was your first concert?
Ooh. Again, I'm from Iowa.
You're right.
I'm old.
Old.
My first concert was the Osbournes.
Okay.
Donnie and Marie at Veterans Memorial Auditorium in Des Moines, Iowa, which was also the same venue that Ozzy bit the head off the bat.
Oh.
Wow.
Not the same concert.
Yeah.
It was later. But yeah, my very first concert was the Osbournes.
Cool, man.
Nobody's going to beat that.
Maybe not, maybe not. What was the first album that you owned?
I had a lot of records, still do. I would think it was probably Steve Martin, Let's Get Small.
Wow.
I had Wild and Crazy Guy. I had a lot of Steve Martin records, and then Richard Pryor.
Oh, nice.
A lot of comedy albums. I did the whole Dark Side of the Moon, Led Zeppelin 4, stuff like that. But I think the first ones were definitely comedy albums.
Nice. Do you still own? And if so, what's your favorite piece of MTV swag?
I have so much stuff. Hold on. So I look at this every day.
Wow.
This is Hugh Hefner and Snoop Dogg. They ran for president in 2004, and it was their slogan was...
Is it signed?
No. Their slogan was "Leave no hoe behind," which I think is listen, in today's political climate, I think that is
So what was MTV's involvement in that? You just
that was
covered
the Snoop Show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we had a show. Jesse did a show with Snoop, and that was his show.
Very cool. Do you have a favorite artist right now? And how do you find out about new music? Obviously, coming from Spotify.
Spotify. I get a lot of my new music just from some algorithmic playlists. I just search for new music all the time. I think if you don't stop looking for new music, you're just going to revert back to the old stuff you listen to, and you'll just get stuck in that rut. So it's always trying to find new stuff. I thought the new Tyler, the Creator album was really, really good. Speaking of the two Tylers in my life, Tyler Childress and Tyler, the Creator, I guess that shows you the two sides of my brain. But those two albums have come out in the last month, and they're very good.
Nice. Aside from R. Kelly, do you have a favorite music video? Let's say from your MTV era.
I think probably the best music video ever made was George Michael's Freedom.
Okay.
I think if you go back, it's got every single supermodel in it. He's not even in it. It's such an amazing video and an amazing song. So I got to do that.
Is it because he mentions MTV in it?
He does say the boys from MTV.
Is he talking about you?
He's not talking about me. He's probably talking about Toffler. It's such an amazing video.
It is a great video.
Yeah. Was there one kind of project or artist you worked with that was you would kind of sum up as a highlight of working at MTV? You mentioned a VMA, red carpet.
I honestly will tell you everything. I loved every minute of it. It was the highs and lows of really stressful stuff like the VMAs and the movie awards. You'd go down to TRL during the day because you had to get a photographer in because you were meeting some publicist and some reporter. or you're, hooking up Joe Armenia to get his picture taken with Madonna for the 10th time. I remember one time I was at TRL and they had these bumper shots where like Carson would be on stage and they'd say, "Oh, up next is LL Cool J," and LL would be walking down the hallway and they'd have a shot of him. And so like we'd all be in the hallway with him. I remember one time he was on camera and he's walking, doing the whole thing like that, and he sees me and he comes up and he gives me the whole kind of like that like bro hug thing on camera, and then he walks by and I'm in the bumper shot and I nail the bro hug, just hit it hard. and he walks on, and then my friend goes, "Do you know LL?" And I'm like, "No, I have no idea he's never met him before in life," but he was just doing it for the camera.
Yeah.
So, and again, that was Wednesday. That's the fun stuff. Doing big press conferences for the VMAs, the movie awards, working on big shows. MTV's $2 bill was a really cool, it was 2002, and they did a concert each month, and it was $2 to get in. And we went to LA and we did the Strokes, and it was like right when the first album was coming out, and it was so cool. So it was just like every single month was something fun like that. And then the people around you were a ball. They were really talented, and they were working hard, but they were also we were
it was your work family. Like it was not a burden to do a work event outside of work hours. You never thought, it was just like your family, friends. You had an amazing time.
Yeah. Somebody couldn't get into the city because it was a snowstorm, and you had to go to do some special or to stay late because they were taping and Unplugged. I mean, it was not hard to say yes to.
Yeah.
Yeah. After MTV, you were in communications and marketing roles at places like Yahoo, AOL, and Spotify. Were there any similarities to MTV in those jobs, and what were the differences?
I've been very lucky to have some dream jobs in my career. I think that MTV and Spotify were really similar. It was obviously all around music and all around like doing something differently and being creative about it and just getting into a lot of trouble, which is for a PR person is a ton of fun. I was lucky enough to again work with two good friends from MTV, which was Tuma and Tom Calderon, which were at Spotify, and that was just another phase in the music industry. So it was very similar. We'd have some celebrities kind of roll through the Spotify offices, but not like MTV did.
Right.
I was also able to bring over Tamika from MTV, who's since gone on to be, awesome, and we'll all probably work for her someday. That was a really great experience, and probably the most akin to MTV in that, what you were saying, Perry, it's like was your family.
Yeah.
It is these people that you want to be with, late at night working on something because you didn't want to kill them, because you respected them and knew they were really smart and knew they were really passionate what they're doing. And that's where Spotify and MTV were really similar.
And you felt like during your 9 years at MTV, your work ethic was defined, and the way you kind of communicated internally and externally, were these all values that you carried on in your other roles?
Yeah, you just learn along the way in your career. You learn everything. You learn from the good and the bad. It's like the time when you had a really shitty conversation with your manager, you learn not to do that with somebody who you manage.
Yeah.
And that just comes with kind of like being in those positions for a long time. And then hopefully it makes it so you're not so jaded at the end of the day. And you're like, we can't do that, kid. It's all been done. It's like, let's try these new things. Let's try something else. And that's like, again, you got to give yourself permission to be creative and to take risks.
What was it like moving from dealing with more like the legacy media to more digital platforms as far as like doing press at Spotify?
For a PR person, your entire job has changed in the last 10 years. Back in the MTV days, you had your glossy magazines, you had your Entertainment Weekly, People, Rolling Stone, Vanity Fair, things like that. Vanity Fair is still obviously so important, and then you had like the morning shows, GMA, Today, CBS, and then you had your afternoon entertainment shows. You had Access Hollywood and Entertainment Tonight, E! News. These were big outlets, and they had a lot of reach and they had a lot of power. Really, they've all kind of like been diminished, if not like gone entirely away. If you're looking to reach a consumer audience, now it's done more by reaching influencers, people who would have millions and millions of followers, but they're just some kid in Montclair, New Jersey, who happens to have a really great TikTok. So it's just the whole strategy has changed. Business press and tech press are still more on the traditional side. They live online first and they're digital first, but it's a lot of the same rules apply. But for consumer press and building an audience, it's an entirely different ballgame. And for me, it's like, that's fun. It's like, learn something new. Don't just be stuck in the past where you go, man, I wish People magazine was still relevant and I could still do it. But it's like, no, it's like you have to change and you have to evolve.
Yeah.
Great. Well, it's been amazing. And this has gone so quick. During your time at MTV, or did you love going to live shows? And do you have a favorite New York City venue?
New York City venue is my favorite is Radio City, which is going to be like, everyone's going to say something cool in Brooklyn or something like that.
Right.
To like show their cred. But no, it's like Radio City is classic.
It's
New
beautiful.
York,
yeah.
Beautiful venue. I've seen a bunch of great shows there. But look, I think my favorite performances that I would see would be soundcheck performances at these big shows. And so you'd be there, there'd be, a bunch of dudes from the crew and a bunch of executives in these big venues. And that'd be like 20, 25 people.
Yeah.
And then you'd have Christina Aguilera on stage singing Beautiful to an empty house. And it was like, holy shit.
Magical.
It was like, just like you'd get chills. And then, or you'd see Beyonce doing, Crazy Right Now at Radio City, and there's nobody else there. And you're just like, this is insane. So those were always my favorites, just because you were just a fly on the wall for these massive superstars that were so talented, still are so talented, and you got to be on the inside. And what's better than that?
The first sound check answer, which is amazing, because I always, and I will never forget, when I was in the music team, they like to pair us up with artists that we were passionate about as escorts for the VMAs. So one year I was escort for Muse, and it was a New York show. I forget the satellite theater that they performed in. They
Justin Timberlake introduced them.
Oh, okay. So they streamed one performance in the show, but if you were in that venue, they would do like a 45-minute set. So leading up to the VMAs, Uprising was the song that they performed. I probably heard that about 50 times as you were saying, in a room of about 20 people, and it was incredible. Then I was at the venue because I was covering them, and then I got to stay for this exclusive set.
It's just, look, I mean, for me, if it's just some guy from Iowa,
right,
and you're at a soundstage in LA and you're listening to like these amazing artists with like 20 other people, it's what's cooler than that?
Yeah, cool,
awesome.
All right, well, thank you, Graham. Thank you for taking the time. This went by so fast.
Thank you guys for doing this. This is so. I see the feed and I see these are beautiful, amazing people that you're talking to, and there's a lot more out there that you got to get to, I'm sure. But this was a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well,
good luck with everything moving forward, man. All right,
guys.
See you.
All right. Thanks, fellas.
Thank you.